people out there from different parts of the world. I think I've got Candy in Japan, and I think there's people from Germany and elsewhere. But the idea of this show, it's connected to the What's in Your Music Collection community, and which doesn't just embrace vinyl, it embraces CD, box sets, even cassettes sometimes. So anything that makes up the music collection that many of us have collected over the years. And it basically is a celebration for anybody who likes to hold physical music in their hands and still likes to purchase it. So we'll be covering quite a few things in this show tonight. One of the things I wanted to look at was the Led Zeppelin remasters series, and see a little bit of an overview of that, and what my thoughts are now that it's complete. Also, the Tommy Bolin teaser vinyl box set, which I've managed to get for a good price, and also talk about CD bonus tracks and 5.1, and does it make a difference, and does it sort of mean that you buy things more readily, and how many of us actually end up buying the same thing several times. So that's the kind of shape of the show. And as I say, my music, what's in my music collection has been going for a while now, and I've also very pleased to say that I've taken over the running with the rest of my family, the Aston family, of the My Music Hangout community. So we might do more of these type of shows in conjunction with My Music Hangout. So the first thing I'm going to mention, I think, let's get back or straight to the Zeppelin masters. Now, Jimmy Page has remastered his back catalogue several times, and well, as I say several times, probably only twice really, but it means that your average Led Zeppelin fan has probably bought this stuff 3 times since the CD age appeared. So for some of us, you may have bought this in 1975 or from that date onwards in vinyl, and then you bought it like this in its original CD remastered set, and then very recently you bought this, which is the 3-disc version, and some of you may then have bought it yet again on vinyl. This is original. I haven't actually done that. So does it make a difference, and was it worth doing? Well, I think for the Zeppelin stuff, let's start with Led Zeppelin 1, originally released early 1969. Each of the deluxe edition CDs are 2-disc sets, and come with a wealth of bonus material. And the word wealth has to be used with some caution here. Led Zeppelin 1 does come with a live concert. The sound quality is not brilliant, but it's new material, so you know, you have to look at it from that perspective really. Does it sound better than the previous CD? Does it sound as good as the vinyl? Hard to say. I'd say it's pretty close, but Led Zeppelin 1 is probably close to my favorite Zepp album. So I always thought the production on this, that Jimmy Page did in his imagination of the sounds that he got out of this album, is immaculate. And it's hard to believe it was recorded when it was. I mean, it sounds good anyway, so maybe it was very hard for him to tweak that without sort of just making it louder. Led Zeppelin 2 came out a few months later. I remember those days when bands released 2 albums a year. Again, 2-disc set. And on this one, this is where we get to a situation where the bonus tracks are basically rough mixes. Now, I'm not sure about you, but rough mixes isn't quite the full thing with me, because it's very hard sometimes to actually tell if there is any real difference between the finished track and the rough mix. I mean, they're all obviously exactly the same length, and apart from maybe the vocals being a slightly different place in the mix, it's not that different. So Led Zeppelin 2, does it sound better than the last issue? Marginally, I would say. The other thing that I think is a missed opportunity for the Led Zeppelin remasters is that for many deluxe editions, you would expect there to be a booklet in it. There is a booklet in each of these, but primarily they're just a few pages of pictures with Led Zeppelin with their shirts off. And I think what people would like is an essay, maybe from Jimmy Page, putting the album in a different historical perspective, what was going on at the time, a bit of performance data, perhaps. That's the kind of thing that music collectors like. So I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. I'll touch on what I think would have been really cool later on. Led Zeppelin 3. I can't argue with the fact that they've replicated the dial on the original gatefold sleeve is pretty cool. And again, it's a double disc affair. The best missing track from this album is Hey Hey What Can I Do, which isn't on it. It does appear later on in the series, but this is the first one where I feel that the remastering this time round has made a difference. This is recommended. Led Zeppelin 4, again, double disc, booklet full of pictures. All the pictures, although there's no writing or essay, the pictures are from the year that the album roughly came out and the corresponding tour. So I suppose some work must have gone into that. But the versions of Stairway to Heaven that say there's a new version, it's not that different, to be honest. So again, rough mixes. The first album to me where it sounds a step up in remastering is this one. Has the Holy is not my favorite Zepp album, but the additional tracks here are different than the ones that actually made it to the finished product, so they are interesting and they sound very, very good. So that brings us to Physical Graffiti, which they mimic the album exactly as the vinyl. It's 3 discs, and this does sound different. To me, the remastering on this, the Rover, for instance, just sounds absolutely awesome. And the versions of In the Light, which are new, are fantastic. So if you're going to buy a Zeppelin remaster and you don't want to buy all of them, this one is well worth getting. Presents. Then we go backwards again to the fact that we've got some rough mixes where it's hard to tell the real difference, and but you know, it's okay. By this time, if you bought up to this point, you're going to keep going. Into the Outdoor was not one of their best albums, well, for me anyway, but it mimics the sleeve, and there are some. Again, the tracks are basically made up of rough mixes. So ironically, the best Zeppelin album for the reissued stuff is this one. This was probably the worst Zeppelin album at the time because it was basically just done as a contractual thing. Not very good at the time, which is Coda. Now it's been expanded to a 3-disc set. Disc 1 is the original album, which is iffy. Excuse me while I drop everything everywhere. If I can find that, I can. And the extra tracks on this are very good. So you've got 2 discs of the extra stuff. There's some stuff I'd never heard here before. Hey Hey What Can I Do, which should have been on Led Zeppelin 3, appears here, and as does quite a few different tracks that are very interesting. So Coda and the 3-disc set is very good. All of these albums came out in £100 box sets, so you could have spent at least £1,000 getting the whole set if you'd wanted to, which I didn't, and I don't think it's worth it. But but if you're a Led Zepp fan, going for these, I think, is good, especially Coda and Physical Graffiti. So saying that, how could or should reissues can be done, and this is why I think the Led Zeppelin remasters is a bit of a missed opportunity in many ways. If I take, for example, Jethro Tull, this is Minstrel and Gallery, and Jethro Tull are basically going through their back catalogue and producing this style of reissue, which is awesome. It's like a hardback book with a fantastic book of 100 pages, You have 2 discs, one with the original album, another one with extra tracks, and then you always have a DVD with a 5.1 mix plus extra tracks, all done by Stephen Wilson from Porcupine Tree, who's absolutely fantastic at doing these remixes. He does a lot for King Crimson and Yes, and Gentle Giant, and XTC, lots of different people. So this, imagine if the Zeppelin albums had been produced like this, Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, 4, what presents, all like this, people would have bought it, and this would be a fantastic essay, maybe involving the whole band, would have been fantastic. So that, to me, is the benchmark of a good reissue box set, and Tool have really got that sussed. So I hope they continue to do that, because I think it will be fantastic. The other reissues that I think have been doing very well is Yes. This is the relayer version. This is a CD plus Blu-ray DVD, which includes not only the 5.1 mix by Stephen Wilson, but loads of different versions, the vinyl needle drop version, the instrumental version, every version you could possibly want. So again, and a fantastic booklet giving you perspective on what was going on when it came out, who was in the band, what they thought of it. That again is a great example of what, you know, you'd like from you know, the reissue market. On the what's in your music collection community, we always kind of talk about different things and albums we might buy once, or what becomes a favorite album, and then the kind of thing that makes us want to, well, not necessarily want to buy it again, but it just happens to reappear. And one of mine is by a guy called Tommy Bolin. This is the original CD version, which came out in the late, let's try and get the glare, 80, yeah, I think it was the late 80s. Originally issued in 1975. This actual CD issue is pretty horrendous, to be honest. There's quite a lot of distortion on it. And for many years, this was the only CD version you could buy. So when I heard that this was being remastered, I was really excited about it. This is the original album on Atlantic Records from 1975. I think what makes Tommy Bolin remarkable, not just known as the guy that replaced Richie Blackmore in Deep Purple or Joe Walsh in the James Gang, is the fact that he was such a talent. Not only is there rock music on this, there is jazz, there's reggae, there's rock fusion, ballads. The guy could turn his hand to everything. And not only did he play a lot of the instruments and wrote all the music, he actually sang as well. So it's a fantastic album. So if you've never heard this, go to Spotify or go and get a copy and listen to it. It is fantastic. So when I heard that this was going to come out and be remastered, I was tad excited, to say the least. So when they brought out Teaser Deluxe, I rushed out and bought it. And is it good? Well, it is, but it's not the Teaser album that I know and loved. This is all remixed and longer versions. So it's like outtakes that have been tweaked, and they've been remastered and remixed very well, but it bears little resemblance to the original album. So how they can say it was Teaser Deluxe is hard to say, really. And I think even the people behind the Tommy Bolin estate, which makes also, I think, must have thought the same, because quite soon afterwards, a 5-disc version, although 2 of those discs are actually other guitarists playing over the master tapes of Tommy Bolin. It does include a 3-disc version because I mean, the guy was so prolific. He did so many different versions of the tracks. I mean, Wild Dogs, one version of Wild Dogs is 15 minutes long, on top of the extra 4 minutes it was originally. Again, great stuff, but not the original album remastered. So I always felt there was something missing, really. At least they used the proper artwork on this one. But it's all good, and if you're a Tommy Bolin fan, it's well worth finding. However, so when I heard there was yet another version coming out, and this time it was going to be on 3 vinyl discs, I got very excited about it as well. So, and this is that, and this is Tommy Bolin, the Teaser 40th anniversary box set, which features 3 vinyl albums and a 2 CD set called the Best of Live. And the best thing about the Best of Live is he did a radio broadcast at my father's place in 1976, which covers the album he did called Private Eyes, and that's some good stuff on that. And again, although it says Teaser, it's the remixes and the extended versions. It's not the original album remastered. But you do get a nice big booklet with this, with an essay in it, hurrah, which is good. And and the vinyl itself, the pressing is very good. There's 3 discs in there. So, and I think this retailed in the UK for about £55, but I managed to grab it for less than 20. So very, very good. Oh, I've got let me bring a comment up from Peter Davis, if I can. Totally agree. Steve Wilson treats original mixes with respect. I'm not a fan of remixes, but Steve Wilson is a fan, so he doesn't mess them up too much. A contentious issue. I think it is. And I think Steve Wilson not only is a major talent with Porcupine Tree and himself now, and in fact his last album, and that his last solo album was probably my pick of album of the year, actually. But his reputation for sound engineering and remixes is just second to none. He's just trusted. And I think it's amazing how a lot of the kind of 70s and 80s kind of prog and rock stars are probably queuing up to get him to relook at their stuff. I mean, the stuff he's done with Death Row Tull, and especially Yes, has been phenomenal. He has a real eye for 5.1 mixes. And if you've not got a 5.1 system at home, it's hard to explain what that's like. It's a bit like saying someone who only listens through one speaker with mono and trying to explain what stereo's like. It is a whole new dimension to listening to your music, and some of it, a bit like I've got Rush Moving Waves is a brilliant example of fantastic 5.1 mix. It really is out of this world. But the Yes stuff is also very good. Now, I know Peter Davis is watching, and I know he mentioned something about CD bonuses. Are they worth it? So what should we use for an example for that? Well, I've got one handy, I think, if I can find it. Yes. Judas Priest released their first album in ages, called Redeemer of Souls. Nice shiny book with lots of pages in it, and 2 CD set. It is a true return to form. So if you're in the mood for having your music turned up, making life loud, and wanting lots of guitars and screaming vocals, then Rob Halford is back, and this is a great album. And I think this was about $12.99. So bear with me. The vinyl version was actually roughly the same price now, although at the time it came out it was about 20 quid. Very shiny, 2-disc set, so excellent stuff. However, even though it's a double album, it does not feature disc 2 on here, which is the bonus disc. And in this case, 2 of the tracks on the bonus disc are probably 2 of the best tracks on the album. So if you just bought the vinyl, you missed out on that. And it could be that maybe they just didn't feel it warranted having a triple album, which is probably what it would have needed to be. But this is a case of where what's happening to music fans is you end up buying both. So that's the kind of play on Judas Priest. So that's, again, it's a good example of, I mean, the way I approach buying vinyl is I will now probably buy it on CD, unless it's the last Magnum album came out as a double vinyl album with the CD included, and that's a good way for people to proceed, I think. Or I'll buy on CD, and if I really, really love the album and it's made such an impact like the new Riverside album has, then I might also have that on vinyl as well. But that's the key thing there. So going back to Tommy Bolin, those of you who don't know much about him, he started with a band called Zephyr in the late 60s, and then he moved on to a band called Energy that didn't get signed, and then from there his first real band was the James Gang. This is the second album he made, actually, which is Miami. And the other one was Bang. That was 1973. And then from there, he probably created, with Billy Cobham, the best jazz fusion album of all time, called Spectrum, 1973. So this is the album that made Jeff Beck do Blow by Blow. So it's an absolutely stunning album, especially the track called Stratus. And then from there, he replaced Blackmore and played on this, which is Come Taste the Band, which is one of my favorite Purple albums, next to Burn and Men in Japan. Just bring up a comment from Pete. It's difficult if they are rehearsal of versions. Why have them as bonus tracks? Yes, that's true. I mean, the Judas Priest stuff was actual tracks that they just felt didn't quite fit in with the feel of the album, but they were complete tracks in their own right. But you're right. I mean, if you play a classic album and you really enjoyed that, and then the next 4 tracks that they've tacked on at the end are just rehearsal tape tracks with not very good sound, it does kind of it is a bit off-putting, really. So maybe the new approach, where you have 2 discs set with the original album compact and on its own, and then the bonus tracks on another disc, is probably the best way to go. I have to say, with the Zeppelin stuff, I've played the bonus material once most of the time, and just because there's a reason why some of these tracks are bonus tracks, and there's a reason why some of these tracks weren't released at the time, and that's because they weren't quite as good as the others. And that's the fact. Oh, Charlie is joining us. So hi, Charlie, can you hear me? I think we're just waiting to see if Charlie can join us. It looks like he might be able to, and because I know my habit of talking nothing but rock music, even though I do move into jazz and stuff, is quite well known. Whereas Charlie's very good at balancing me out with a bit of R&B, and he did introduce me to Boss Skaggs last time we did a show like this. So that was very good. Boss Skaggs, someone I really like now. So, and if Charlie can hear us at all. But if you can, you're welcome to join when you can indeed. So that's the main thing for, as I say, the Led Zeppelin stuff. And the other stuff, what else have I been listening to? The other stuff I've been listening to recently, because I know Candy's been watching from Japan, and she mentioned Michael Schenker. This is Michael Schenker live at the Budokan, and this is a great album. I don't play the vinyl on this very often because I've got it on CD. There's an extra track on it, and this is much better. But so that's for you, Candy. You wanted to Michael Schenker mentioned, and that's the Japanese live in Japan. And my discovery since I've last seen one on this, probably for you, Pete Davis, is Camel. I picked this up from a charity shop the other week. This is called I Can See Your House From Here, and this is the original copy. And what was really a nice surprise about getting this was I also sometimes feel sorry when people hand in their albums to charity shops, that what the story's behind it. But this person had included, I'd obviously they'd gone to see the band that year and they put the tour program in the album, probably forgot all about it. So when I picked up this album from the charity shop, it also included the actual tour program from the year that it was released. And this album by Camel, which is a British prog band that never made it to the upper echelons of Yes, Genesis and King Crimson, etc. But they were very, very good. Moon Manders and the Snow Goose are probably their better known stuff, but this includes a track called Ice. Look it up on YouTube. It's probably one of the best guitar solos you'll ever hear that doesn't go to 100 miles an hour. Absolutely fantastic. So, was it Pete saying the remaster of Going for the One is a classic example? Indeed. Yes, Going for the One by Yes is probably one of my favorite Yes albums. I saw them at Stafford Bingley Hall in 1977, and that does have a few tracks that makes you think, why did they do that? Oh, Charlie, hi.
Hey, greetings. Good
Hello.
afternoon, or good evening for you. How you doing?
All right, thank you. Good to see.
Sorry,
Good to see you.
sorry I'm late. I had to run to the airport real quick, but I made it back.
Well, that's okay. Well, I've talked for most of the known world on my stuff. So you were going to talk about, I think, Michael McDonald, wasn't it?
That's my intention. I have a stack full of things I want to talk about here that if we have time for it. I've been watching some of the chat going on. I've been trying to get in for a while because I'm on Safari right now. And
Oh, right.
I was using Google, and Google wasn't working for me. Then I tried Firefox, and that wasn't working for me. And my last hope was Safari, and so I'm on Safari now, which is
Cool.
not my favorite browser, but it works anyway.
That's okay. That's full. That's cool. So, because Michael McDonald is, I haven't got any of his solo stuff. My exposure to him is through the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's this. He's his latter stuff is not that great. I mean, the last album I bought by him was what was it? Motown, the second Motown album, and where he does a lot of Motown covers and stuff, and it wasn't that great. But the first two albums are really good, and the third album is not so good. I mean, it sort of comes and goes, but he has had a varied career though.
Yeah, because my first album. This is those of you who are into the Doobie Brothers. These two album sets from Ensel Records are fantastic, and the first one that my first exposure to him was Taking It to the Streets, which I think is a brilliant album.
Yeah,
absolutely stunning. And the one after that, that's the Fault Line album, wasn't it? To me,
Living on the Fault Line. Yeah,
that wasn't quite as good. I didn't quite get into that as much. And then the one after that had left Planet Doobie Brothers completely, as opposed to any of the time.
That will be God.
One Step Closer. Was
No,
it?
no, that was the last album he did with the Doobies. It was One Step Closer. The hit album, which is
Minute
by Minute. Yeah, Minute by Minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a classic, and it's. I think what's so great about the Doobies is the fact that albums like The Captain and Me were like rock classics, but things like Minute by Minute, that I still love that as much as The Captain and
Well,
Me.
at that time, by the time Minute by Minute rolls around, it becomes Michael McDonald and the Doobie Brothers. It's it becomes backup band. Unfortunately, because at that time it's he and Patrick Simmons are the leaders of the band. The old band guard like Tom, what's this guy's name? He left the band right before Fault Line. Okay, one of the founding members. Tom Johnson. Tom Johnson. Thank you, Tom Johnson. Right. He left the band right before then, and also Skunk Baxter left the band at that moment too to join Steely Dan for a while and do a lot of session work and stuff. And so the band, the dynamic of the band changed dramatically. But they sold more records than they ever had before up to that point. So I mean, I know a lot of Doobie Brothers fans are not happy when Michael joined the band, but they can't deny the fact that the band got to be huge because of him.
Absolutely. I mean, they're still going strong now, and I think Michael guests with them every so often as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does guest with them every so often. Not as much as he used to. Last time I saw him on television was a few weeks ago. He was on some show. What was it? God. And I barely recognized him. I mean, he of course he's older now since the Doobie Brothers, but yeah, I barely recognized him.
Excellent. Which album would you recommend for Michael McDonald if you're wanting to get a solo album without saying the greatest hits?
Ouch! Kicking me in the teeth already, are we? Wow. I would recommend. I'll go with the first one because the first one sounds a lot like a Doobie Brothers album.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. The last Doobie Brothers album sounds he made the album right before he left the band. He made the album between Minute by Minute and One Step Closer. So it sounds in respect to like a Doobie Brothers album, but it's his album. And a lot of songs he wrote, a lot of songs he did back then, even when he was with the Doobie Brothers, he co-wrote those songs with Kenny Loggins. Like he co-wrote, like he and Kenny Loggins co-wrote What a Fool Believes. He co-wrote that one with Kenny Loggins. He co-wrote a lot of songs on that first album of his with Kenny Loggins, and so if you're a Kenny Loggins fan, you'll see a cross mix. You'll see a cross between them because the same songs that are on Michael's album will end up also on Kenny Loggins' album at the same time. So
Yeah, excellent. Well, I'll have to check that out. The last time I did a show and you were on it, and you recommended the Boz Scaggs album. I went out and bought that the next day, and I've got several of Bob.
That's great. That's great.
Excellent stuff. The other artist you wanted to mention was Donna Summer.
Yeah, I was going to mention Donna because I was listening to her a few weeks ago, and I don't have very many albums by her, but I mean, I'll wait to the broadcast before I go into the review that I have. But I was on another forum. I was on the Steve Hoffman's forum a few days ago, and there's a long-running thread about Donna Summer and basically about her 12-inch tracks. Yeah. And there is as always, there's a deluxe version of Bad Girls. There's a deluxe version of Bad Girls out there, which I don't have. That has a lot of the 12-inch versions on there, but the 12-inch versions that are on that CD are not the correct version. They've been truncated, they've been shortened a little bit, or they're different versions completely. And so the thread was going on about that, and the question came up about where can you get the original 12-inch versions of Donna Summer? And there's another album out there that should be in print as we speak that features not all her 12-inch tracks, but the most famous ones that she's ever done, like with Hot Girl. Bad Girls and all the stuff that we heard. You probably hear in the discos, but I heard of the discos back in the day for all her 12-inch hits and stuff. And in fact, the discussion online was about MacArthur Park, which is a track that came off of her live album, right? Live and More, which is available on CD, but it's not the right version. Again, it's been cut down for some reason. I don't know why. The version that's on CD, is not the version that you can buy as on vinyl. Such, it's just for some reason they just cut it down to one CD, where the record album was a double album set. And I
think that's what I was talking before you came on air, Charlie. I was talking to Pete Davis, who's watching, and we talked about the bonus tracks. And I think sometimes this is the confusing thing for the collector is you think that when some of these deluxe editions come out, that what you want to be on the bonus tracks is sometimes missed off, or it's not the version you thought it was going to be. And it's always like a lost opportunity, and I think you think, well, I'm going to buy the definitive version now. And then you think, well, where's that B-side that was on that 12-inch single 15, 20 years ago?
Right.
And that's what you just described with Donna Summer is a classic example of that.
Yeah, I'm not. Bonus tracks doesn't bother me as much. I mean, but they're there for a reason to get you to buy the CD or album again. If you bought the album 20 years or 25 years ago, that's just the album. And all of a sudden, you have outtakes and the alternate mixes and everything that will get you to buy it over again. And I don't have a huge problem with that. My deal is that I would rather have. Instead of if you're going to give me bonus tracks, give me the B-sides of the 45s or the singles that came out at that time, which a few years ago when they had the Elton John series that came out, Elton John re-releases and stuff. When I bought Captain Fantastic, I wanted the B-sides because I had all those 45s as a kid from that album, and all the B-sides were all non-album tracks on there. And so when I bought the album again on SACD and CD and everything, those were not on there. Those tracks were not on there at all, except for one was on there. That was about it. But I wanted the B-sides because the B-sides were just as good as the A-sides at that time. And so I still don't have a good copy of House of Cards by Elton John. I still have a great copy of Ego by Elton John. There's like maybe 6 or 7 tracks that I don't have in any digital form at all because those tracks, I hear they're available in other compilations and everything. I don't feel like searching out and looking for them and everything, but what I wanted was the B-sides. I rather have the B-sides than have outtakes or different mixes and stuff like that.
Yeah, to me, the B-side is to me it's an official track. I mean, it came out, as you say, a B-side of a single that became a hit. So it seems the most obvious thing to put on a reissue. First of all, your first port of call should be the B-sides or the 12-inch mixes, and then finally the rough demos and the dodgy live tracks from a radio broadcast.
Right, exactly. The good way to put it is the dodgy live tracks. I know Pete Davis had mentioned before I logged in. I was watching the thread on my phone He had mentioned the remaster of Going for the One by Yes, which I don't have, but I know what he's talking about there because I have the remaster to 90125, and that has a couple of extra bonus tracks on there, and in fact, it has the 4 tracks that are now when that album came out in 1980 or so, it came out on CD. It came out on vinyl too, but after it was released, there was a special edition 4-track cassette remix version of not Owner of a Lonely Heart, but of what was the other song on there?
I can't remember.
Come on, help me out here.
Yeah.
Actually, one was Owner of a Lonely Heart. One track, one side was Owner of a Lonely Heart. The other side was it Leave It? I think it was Leave It. It was Leave It. And those 4 tracks, and here in the United States, those tracks only appeared on the cassette and never appeared on CD again. So when you bought the remaster, like I did, those tracks all of a sudden come up on the end up on the remaster along with other tracks that are tacked onto it. So I mean, that's not why I bought it. I bought it. I'm not sure why I bought it. To tell the truth, because I didn't think the original CD sounded that great, and the remaster was not an improvement at all. Was not an improvement over it at all. On top of it anyway. So that's probably why I bought it. But if your issue is, I fall back to the point where when I recently posted that new box set by Bob Dylan. Is a prime example of that where they're scraping the bottom. I mean, I think with the Dylan Kyler, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and that set proves it because I mean they have one CD devoted solely to the remixes, and not really solely to the alternate takes, the background takes, the vocal tracks of one song, and the one song is Like a Rolling Stone. Like, okay, I love that song, but I'm not sure I can sit through 45 minutes of it. Just with Bob being, with Bob and the guitar, Bob and harmonica, and Bob and half the band. I don't need to hear all that. I don't want all that.
No. But that's a bit like some of the Led Zeppelin remasters, where this one's got the vocals slightly louder, this one's got the bass guitar slightly louder. It's like, that's, to me, it's not really a bonus. In fact, I almost feel as if Jimmy Page has just slightly tweaked it to make it different to when he was trying to find something to put on them. Yeah,
that's probably true, and it's not like there's not a whole lot of outtakes out there for the Rolling, not for the Rolling, outtakes for Zeppelin. I mean, from what I understand, from all the bootlegs I've ever seen, like they've got gobs of outtakes out there, mostly the live shows and everything and whatnot. And so, I thought when I saw the Led Zeppelin, the track list for the Led Zeppelin tracks, I thought they were being kind of stingy with them. I said, okay, they give me the album, they gave me maybe 1-2 live tracks, and that's about I know there's far more stuff out there than what they're giving you, because I've heard bootlegs all the time, and I know people are posting pictures of videos and everything, VHS tapes and stuff like that. And I was looking for my when I dug up the things I was going to talk about today in my storage, I was looking for my DVD of How the West Was Won by Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah.
And for those who don't have that, it's a great. It's not so much a documentary. It's a great piece of work, great video work of Led Zeppelin through the years as a live band. And I really regret not seeing them live at all because they were dynamic live. But the one thing about that DVD set is that if you put the DVD in the player and let the player boot up to the menu, and let it sit on that menu for a while, it will play like a half dozen tracks that are not on anything, that not on any bit of vital, like there's a different version of, what is it? Not Black Dog. There's a different version of Trampling Underfoot that they've recorded back in Down Austria in like in 1974 or 75. And if you just put the disc in the player and just let the player go to the menu, and the menu will just automatically start playing these tracks in the background that are not on the disc. And as far as I know, it has never been on any other official Zeppelin release before.
Well, I have to say, it's been worth doing this show for that moment, because I didn't know that. I've got that DVD. I had no idea that was there was an Easter egg of unknown tracks. I did not know that.
It's on both. It's on both discs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that at all, and that's interesting. If they've not put those on the remasters, I am whether Jimmy Page is working out that maybe in 40 years' time, although we're all getting a bit older, he thinks he can do another run around the houses with a yet another super deluxe edition, or as Bob Dylan's recently done, yet another rare box set or whatever. I mean,
Right.
there's always the 5.1 mix go down, isn't there? But I don't think 4 musicians sound that good in 5.1. I think you need more stuff.
Well, thanks to multi-track recording, Jimmy Page can play 3 guitars at the same time.
True.
But now they've gone down that rabbit hole of 5.1 mixes and stuff. It's been a while since I've listened to I got a lot of SACDs that have 5.1 mixes. I got the old DTS CDs that have 5.1 mixes in, and in my experience, it's either been very, very good or they've been very, very bad. And I've not heard any other Steve Wilson remixes, so I can't really comment on those. I've been wanting to hear one of those. I just haven't had the opportunity to get one of those discs that he's remixed recently. And so, like I said, either I loved it or either I hate it. And there's been nothing in between there. And I bought. I'm trying to think of a good one that I heard that I had. The DTS, I know they're hard to find, they're out of print and everything, but the DTS CDs are great because those discs actually replicate the original quad mixes back in the day, back in the 70s that they replicate. If you can find one of those are hard. Those are really good to hold on to because they're not not so much remixes, but they've been remixed for 5.1, but they still copy the original quadraphonic surround sound that they had. And that's also the case with a lot of this SSCDs that were released by Sony Records. Like I have. If you have "Bat Out of Hell" by Meatloaf, that's one that from what I understand copies the quad release of that time. And I had "Ship Ahoy" by the OJs, which is actually a very good one, and that also copies the 4-channel quad mix that was when it was released as a record. At the same time, I got "Slow Hand" by Eric Clapton on 2 different formats. One being SACD, which has a has a 5.1 mix, and also a DTS-CD. And the DTS-CD blows it out the water. It's great compared to the one I hear on the SACD, because the one on the SACD it's very timid. It's not very aggressive and stuff. You hear stuff in the background, but you still have the band sitting in front of you with some. You hear some other instruments that are low in the mix in the back in the channels and stuff like that. Yeah, it's more atmospheric than anything else. And that I don't think it works for that one. It works great for, let's say, like Roxy music and stuff like that. But that didn't work. So I'm not. I don't care much for 5.1 because I tore my 5.1 system down years ago. It's just because I didn't have the space for it anymore.
Yeah.
But I see the point where people, or at least when the recording artists and engineers, want to and push you into the middle of a band and let the band play around you. That's that's fine and everything, but I don't know how long you can go with it.
I think it's not. I suppose if you're going to be brutally honest, the way we live our lives, I'm more likely to put the stereo traditional version on because I'm not always sitting down to listen to what I put on. I'm working, I'm moving around the house, and it's on. But 5.1, if you do that, it's completely pointless.
Right.
5.1, you've got to sit down and that's it. That's you're committed for 45 minutes.
Yeah, in this day and age where we're constantly on the move and we're not anywhere near 5 speakers, it just doesn't play, unfortunately. And it's even harder if you do downloads. I mean, I know there are some sites with doing 5.1 downloads for music and stuff like that. But again, you got to commit yourself to sitting down, having the hardware for it and playing it through all the way. And I would love to be able to do that, but I just don't have the opportunity to do that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. So because I looked at your creative way of storing your CDs by putting all the all the covers.
Here we go. Go ahead and tie me to the go ahead and punish me. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
No, it's fine. But we've all. I mean, storage is a key thing, no matter what you what you purchase, really, unless it's digital. But no, I've got quite a couple of friends who do a similar thing to you, where they've got rid of the cases and put everything in those kind of big catalog cases, so they can just browse through them. How much does each one of those hold?
I got a big one that holds 500 CDs. Most of them holds about 120, 125 or so. You'd be surprised how much space you can get back when you do it that way. I was stunned how many shelves I got back. Like, wow, I should have done this years ago. But the problem is, like I put in the post, is that it's great to do it that way. The problem is that those cases get very, very heavy.
I bet they do, yeah.
Yeah, they get very heavy, and they become like weights around that. I put them at the bottom of the shelves because they're just so heavy and such.
Yeah, but it's like, well, holding that's the entire Led Zeppelin back catalogue in one hand. but here's my music right here. This is my music right here on this portable hard on this. Oh, right. And what size of drive is that?
This is 1 gig.
Yeah.
And it's about 3/4 full. And so that's where 90% of my music now resides, is on that. And so, and I don't, I digitize everything just to back these things up. Yeah, as we've discussed before, to back these things up and such.
But no, it was what was it? I bought. I think I posted this before, the Wild Cherry album, which
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really, really good. It's a reissue, 180 gram, which I know technically doesn't really make it any better, but that's what we do now. We buy 180 gram. Probably the original was very bendy.
I got the original.
on Epic Records, but because I bought this version, I haven't got it digitally because I can't rip it. So, and these are harder to store. Yeah, they're hard to store, but maybe I could, maybe I should write a piece about how to do it, how to digitally do it, because you can do it with your Mac. And oh, really?
Yeah, you can do it with the Mac. I did mine mostly on PC, but once in a while I did it with my Mac, and you can do it with the Mac as long as you have a certain bits of information, pieces of equipment there. It's easy to do, and the software, like I said before, Odyssey is for free, and it's you can use. I mean, you're using Audition. Don't you have Adobe Audition in your suite? You can use that too. That's like overkill, but you have it and it works just fine. So,
do you use before we one of the things because and this will be the final segment of the show, be useful for people to talk about, really, is, do you use for your digital kind of organizing things, do you use iTunes, or do you use Google Music? Or
I have both of those, and the thing is that when you live inside Apple's walled garden, your choices of using other software are pretty slim. Unlike the Windows PC, where you're tied into iTunes no matter what. And so iTunes is not the best of these other type of programs, but when you have a Mac or live in the Mac world, it's pretty much all you have.
Yeah.
And so you got to make the best of it. And I use iTunes, but I have like 2 different rippers on my Mac here that I don't. I mean, you can use iTunes to rip your stuff to digital.
Yeah, I do.
But I would recommend if you use XLD, which stands for what does it stand for? Express Lossless Decoder, and it's a simple program. It's a free program. It's very small. It works very, very well. It's really, really good, and it plays well with iTunes very well. So you don't need to start our iTunes, which is as being a Mac user, it's a resource hog, and it's very slow and very long. I wish Apple would just fix iTunes. I really, really do, and they haven't done it yet. And I guess that's a whole nother show for me ranting on iTunes.
Yes, right. I've started to use Google Play because it lets you upload up to 50,000 songs of your own stuff, which I have to say. So it's a great way of backing up your digital library and then taking it everywhere you want. As long as you've got a Wi-Fi connection, you can just play it, you can just stream it. So I've really enjoyed using that, and it uploads very, very quickly. So I think what it must do is, if someone's got Led Zeppelin 2 and someone else in its system has also got Led Zeppelin 2, I think it just references the same file. Because when I uploaded 600 gigabytes of iTunes library, it didn't take as long as I thought it would. So I think it must do some kind of clever referencing so it doesn't have multiple copies on its servers. But it lets you download onto your local device if you want to. But I found it excellent if you go out, if you're visiting somebody, and if they've got Wi-Fi, you've got your entire collection on your phone via Google Play, which you can't do on iTunes.
Right.
So if you've not used it, or anyone watching this, Google Play is well worth exploring as an
It is, and it's very good for free. I mean, after a while, you'll hit that brick wall when you have to start paying for stuff like that.
Yeah, true.
One of the interesting things about Google Play is that this is what I discovered recently. I don't have all my things on Google Play. I have a lot of my things on Google Play, and I need to upload it sometimes. It's been too lazy to do it. I had Google Play on my phone. I wanted to hear some Temptations. Okay, big deal. So I bring up Google Play, hit the Temptations button, and I want to hear, what was it? I want to hear Just My Imagination, which I do have here on my collection, but I have it in stereo. But when I played it on Google Play, it gave me the mono version of That's Just My Imagination. And it did that for several different Motown tracks. I was stunned because that stuff is hard to find. Motown tracks in mono is extremely hard to find. Now you can find it now, but you can find it in parts of collections and compilations and boxes and everything. But I was almost happy. I was so happy to hear that song and hear Tears of a Clown.
Yeah, classic.
Excuse me, a lot of the Supremes, all on glorious mono, because that's how they made those albums. Stereo came later, and I thought, wow, that's cool. I did not pay for that, but I would have to pay for it if I can get these tracks on mono.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Charlie. Did you say are you on holiday at the moment then? Are you on vacation?
No, I'm back now. I'm back. That was about a month. That was about 3 weeks ago. I was in San Antonio for a few weeks and stuff. I was down in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But I am back.
Excellent. Back. Well, thanks very much for joining me, finding your way here. It's great to see you again, and hopefully Gary will be with us again next time. But thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you again on the next show. So thank you. Thanks everybody, and see you soon. Thank you. Thanks everybody, and see you soon.